Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. You're looking at the GW Tiger, the Tier 9 German SPG, located on the north spawn of Prokhorovka, and it's under the command of Javahne. Alongside him is an EBR 75 FL10, and well, that's the Tier 8 French premium wheeled vehicle. Now this video is going to be 3 battles, not just one. You're going to see the battle from Javahne's point of view in the GW Tiger, and then from the EBR 75 FL10's point of view, and follow that up with a game by Javahne again in the GW Tiger. Now this has got the 21cm gun. How do I know that? There's no muzzle brake at the end. If there was, it'd be the 17cm howitzer, but this one is the 21cm. And that means he's capable of doing 1100 alpha, penetrating 53mm of armour, and he's got a burst radius of 12 meters. Okay, he's just trying to find his position, and he's ready to go. When he's aiming in the overhead mode, okay, the target he's first decided to go after is the Super Conk. He's dialing in, almost ready, rounds out on him, goes long. Explodes the other side. So he's got a rather long reload time now. If I remember correctly, it's around about 35 seconds, maybe slightly longer than that, because it's 21cm, obviously. He's just trying to select which target he needs to go for. T-54 Mod 1, which is the first prototype. Tier 8 premium Russian medium. Fairly decent armour, but not when he gets hit by an Arty round. That was an FV3805, our teammate, who's over on the west side of the map, and he just managed to splat his first kill. Unfortunately, that round didn't do much except stun the enemy E100, and Javahne's actually moving position. Now, you can see that he's making a mistake that a lot of players tend to make when they start out playing Arty, because I did it as well when I first started. You scroll the aim point out from your start point. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is press down your shift key so that you go to the aim mode, and then you can hold down the control key, and then with your mouse move that mouse over the minimap and right hand click on where you want to spot, and the view will go there straight away, so you don't have to keep scrolling out. The view will just go right to the spot that you want to hit. Well, you saw him get the first bit of damage off that E100, 408 hit points. He's almost loaded. This time around he's going to go for the Jaegeru, the Jagdpanzer E100. He's just having to adjust his aim every second because the guy's still moving. Rounds out. Bit late, but he does get some splash on the guy for 213 and moves back to avoid counter battery. And again he's scrolling out. Now, as I said, I actually learned the trick because one of the members of What Arty Noobs shared it with me, and that was the whole point of bringing up that group and starting it in the first place, was so we could share information on how to make playing Arty much easier, much better. And of course Wargaming put those abilities into the game, and they just, all that's needed for members to use it. No, there's the kill shot from the Object 268 on our team, right up on the railway line. So the next shot is probably going to be on the E100. Now you may notice I'm not actually using any mods on this game, but that's because the particular client that I'm using on this occasion doesn't have any mods on it at all. Good, he's changing position, but again, scrolls out when he doesn't need to. All he needs to do is hold down the control key, move the cursor over the minimap, and right hand click where he wants to watch. And there it goes, straight there, straight away. 2 targets up on top of the hill. Now they've changed the geometry of the hill a little. They've created a little dip where enemy tanks can hide when they're up against that close edge. The Conqueror is taking advantage of that little area at the moment. Rounds out. Good hit. 351. The thing is that enemy tanks tend to go for that little dip in order to hide their position, because there's a slight dip in the ground. You can hide in that ground there and avoid getting shot at by the bushes, from the bushes just ahead. And of course now we've got an IS-3A moved up to take a shot, and then he's going back down into the dip. You can't see that from the overhead view, but you can see it in Battle Assistant. Now he's loaded now, lining up the shot where the IS-3 is going, and gets a near miss, 199. It's okay. It's RNG that sent the shell long. He had the aim on the target, it's just the, I'm afraid RNG said, nope, you're not getting that one. The thing about Battle Assistant is that it does actually show you the topography of the ground. You can't see that from overhead, but when you actually aim to the target, sometimes you'll see that on a ridgeline you get a line that appears at the edge of the ridgeline, and of course that's the fact that the ridgeline's getting in the way of your aiming. Now he's aimed ahead of the Superconch, but the Superconch keeps moving about to avoid getting hit. Rounds out. Lands next to him for 313. That's a little better. Now, as I said, in this battle, at the end of the battle will be from his perspective, from Javahne's perspective. We'll go do the battle from the EBR's perspective, so we'll see what it looked like from him. You can see he's still alive. He's on the west side of the map, doing a good job spotting for our team. He was the one who found this T-28 over at the back, but we've lost sight of him. Okay, in fact, we've lost sight of all of the enemy at the moment. The Superconch has suddenly come available. Okay, so vehicle turned. He's dialing in, almost ready, aims ahead of his path, and rounds out. Lands right next door to him for 490. That's even better still than the last one, but got to avoid knocking that tree down because that gives away your position in case the enemy is looking. Sometimes they do. In fact, I've noticed recently, as I've been playing a lot more on the NA server, that there is a lot more counter battery on the NA server. A lot of players like to take out their opponents, especially when they know where those opponents are. And of course, a lot of the NA Arty players happen to be members of What Arty Noobs, so I now see what they said about the fact that, yes, you do have to move pretty promptly once you've fired, because if you don't, somebody will nail you with a shell. In fact, in some games, I have to move before I've actually seen the shell arrive at the target, which I find very, very disconcerting, because I like to see the fall of the shot. And if I have to move very, very quickly because the enemy's about to counter battery me, then it just sort of like takes away the enjoyment of the game, because all I get to see is the result. I don't get to see what I actually did to the enemy. And you see there the ridgeline, the railway embankment was causing a red line from the embankment, but the shell went long and right into the target. The E100 ate the shell, but we don't know how much damage it did, so we'll just have to wait and see. There he is. Now we're seeing it. He's only got 729 left, but he's still stunned from that last shot. Okay, there you see the red line appearing further up the embankment once we lose sight of the target. Okay, the E100's moved up to the centre, rounds out ahead of his path, and unfortunately it falls short. Now he hasn't got much room to work with on that corner. In fact, it's a well-known Arty position, and it's very, very difficult to work from that spot. But there is another spot on the other side of the railway line, a little more exposed, but you can actually hide in that area almost as well as you can on the one on this side, and it's a little less predictable. E100's now a little further back. He's almost dialed in. Just what, last few seconds. Runs out. He had to fire quickly. Oh! Yes, that was much better. 482. Now, he's only got 2 rounds left. You don't get a whole lot of ammunition in the 21cm because these are big shells. In fact, in the you can see that if you ever look at the videos about the M53, M55, because in the M53 there's lots of racks of shells, but in the M55 there's very few racks because the shells are just so much bigger. Rounds out in the superconch, lands right next door to him. That one, he tried aiming at the vehicle, but then as the vehicle moved, it moved slightly further south, and of course he didn't extend his aim, and the shell fell right on target. I've noticed as well, in fact actually I'm not the only one who's noticed this, Joe Balls has noticed this as well, that whenever you aim at a target which subsequently dies because somebody else killed it, the shell always seems to hit the target bang on. Almost as if they say, well, we're not going to put in our RNG fiddle factor anymore because we know that target's dead, so we'll make the shot hit the target bang on. Now, the reason why he didn't fire there is because he's on the move. Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually accidentally hit the key, but the thing is, he's now out of shells, so he's got nothing left, but the game is over. So let's look at the battle from the EBR 75 FL10's perspective. And here is the replay from the FL75, or rather the 75 FL. Okay, this is the Tier 8 French premium wheeled vehicle. I say it's a light tank, but it's not really a light tank. In fact, they're just pests, but you know what I feel about these vehicles. They really shouldn't be in the game because they're too overpowered by far. In fact, Wargaming made a huge mistake putting them into the game because they thought they'd be arty killers, but what they do instead is they kill everything. Everything. Even the most overpowered premium tank gets taken out by these little things. Now, they did really exist in reality. They certainly didn't have some of the characteristics this vehicle has of being able to lock onto a target the way he did when he's got some spotting straight away off that T92, and they certainly did not try to fire on the move the way they're doing in these games, because if they did, they'd flip the vehicle over. Literally, the vehicle would do somersaults from the recoil alone. They did fire, but mostly they were stationary when they did fire, and if they did fire during the game, they really should only be able to fire forwards or backwards, but certainly not to the side. They should have restricted ability to fire on the move, just as AMX ELC does when it has the 90mm gun. Well, the player in this game is ossorioleon. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly there. And he's found an E100. In fact, that's the target that, that Javahne hits quite a lot. And he's picking up some spotting. Oh, he's over 1,000 now. So potentially he's now got a spotter badge. Just keeping them in sight. That's all he needs to do. Allow his teammates to actually get some damage on them. He keeps flipping between speed mode and cruise mode. Or is it the other way around? Just needs to keep that E100 in sight, but dodge his shells. I remember when I started playing World of Tanks, I'd often jump into a looks, and when I was on this map, I'd be doing figure of eights right at the centre line, spotting the enemy tanks of my team and getting huge amounts of damage assistance. You can see that Javahne's hit the Jaegeru over the other side of the railway line. There's the E100 again. And let's bring up its mini-map a little bit more, because you should have a big mini-map so you can know where your targets are. You can't be too predictable whilst you're doing the spotting job either, because if you are, then the enemy will get ready for you. They'll predict exactly where you're going to go, line up their shot, and take you out of the game. So you have to be a little, how should we say, inventive, creative, even innovative. And he's found another enemy. Oh, and he's found some enemy who shot at him. That was a T-30 and then a Scorpion G. And you can see shells flying past him. Yes, in one of these vehicles, you live fast, die young, and leave a beautiful corpse. Well, it's not a beautiful corpse as far as I'm concerned. These things are the devil's spawn. It shouldn't be in the game. As I said, often enough, they ruin the game. They just make it far easier for other tanks to die. Now he's in the is that the cruise mode? Keeps flipping between them, but he's keeping that Type 4 heavy nicely spotted whilst he's going round and round and round in the bowl. This is the area I call this little spot the bowl. It is bowl shaped. As long as you're in here, you're a little more difficult for the enemy to shoot at because of the ridgeline. Type 4's gone down. He just needs to spot where that T-30... In fact, there's two T-30s down the south. But there are 4 tanks up on the enemy now, and he's actually behind the nearest tank destroyer, which is the Object 263. So I'm afraid he is going to have to go down here and find out where that T-30 is. There, he's found one. He's found the other. Now, a bailout quickly. Oh! There goes one of the T-30s, the one that was on the tree line. And, ooh, that was a near miss as well. I'd say you have to be a little reckless as well to do this job. Oh, he spotted a T-28 now. Almost drove into him. And he's slowed down so he can maneuver faster. Keep the guy spotted, but he is taking rounds. Not actually hitting him yet, but people are firing at him. They obviously don't like his presence. And of course they're expecting him to fire at them. 6,400 hit points of spotting assist so far. Of course, being in close proximity to these tanks, and these, well, they're both tank destroyers, means that they have to keep an eye on him just in case he comes in their direction, and that means that they can't shoot at his teammates who are also coming in from the north. But most of the time they are aiming north, not at him. So you might want to take a couple of pot shots at them just in case. There's the Conqueror shooting in his direction. And yep, another round comes in. Now, another thing I've actually suggested about these vehicles, if they do get hit anywhere on the vehicle, normally if it hits a wheel that's not active, it basically does no damage to the vehicle whatsoever. If it hits a wheel that is active, it just goes wonky for a while. Well, I've suggested that maybe what Wargaming needs to do, if it hits somebody in the wheel, it stops for quite a long time. And he has been hit in the wheel now. He's got a wonky wheel. There you go, wonky wheel. That ought to stop the vehicle dead in its tracks, and at that point it would obviously be vulnerable. And the T-28 turned himself sideways and made himself an easy target for our guys further up. He's cured his wheel. The other thing, of course, is that if the wheel is hit, and the momentum of the shell hitting the vehicle ought to make it tumble over. Basically, just from the sheer force of the shell, any vehicle that's moving along suddenly gets hit in the side by a shell. Well, it's enough to make you flip the car completely. And it's one of the reasons why it's just not practical that you could have a vehicle that would actually fire whilst it's on the move to the side and not suffer being flipped over by the recoil. Now he spotted that Yunus, who suddenly died. The Super Conk's gone over to the centre, and it looks like he might get a chance to shoot at that guy. Going back to spot that E100 again. Give Javahne a nice little shot on him. There he is. So it was ossorioleon who was actually doing most of the spotting that was enabling Javahne to actually get the shots on target. He needs to find out where the E100 is again. Yep, there he is. And now the Object 268's moved into a position so he can get shots, but unfortunately the E100 takes out the 268 because he was a little careless. He stayed there too long. And there's Javahne's shot going in. 8,327 hit points of spotting assist. He's slowed down just for a moment because I think he wants that kill on the FB3805, and he gets it. So he's got a kill now. In fact, he's got 2 kills now. After all, he did get the kills earlier. Or get a kill earlier, I should say. Oh, more shells going in. He's now still 8,327. There's the Super Conk. You can see the E100, only 13 hit points left. Is he going to be tempted to take a shot? There's only 3 enemy tanks left, and they just killed the E100. There's the M53, M55, a T30 and the Super Conk. Now the T30 was last seen on the west side of the map. That was the one that we were spotting up on the edge of the map. Ossorioleon is moving south. There goes the Super Conk. That means there's only 2 left now. There's the T30. And he's receiving damage, so his spotting has gone up to 9,000 now. And he's just found the last enemy. He locked on just to try and get a shot, but before he could shoot, the IS-7 ended the game, and that is victory for ossorioleon. So let's have a look at the end of battle stats for both Javahne and ossorioleon in this game. Well, it was an ace tanker for ossorioleon in the EBR 75FL10. He also managed to get a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a scout medal for finding at least 9 enemy tanks. He did find 9 exactly, and a patrol duty for getting or being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks whilst they were damaged. And this is the Holy Trinity. Yes, the spotter, scout and patrol duty along with an ace tanker. Yeah, that's the Holy Trinity shot, which means that you've really helped your team immensely in that game. If we look at the team score, we can see when it came to damage, he was nowhere near the top. In fact, he was in the bottom 5 with only 230 hit points. But when it came to kills, he was actually slightly further up the table. He had 2 kills. When it came to base XP, though, he's right at the top. And in fact, he's the only player to get over 1,000 base with 1,459. And most of that's down to the spotting that he did. We look at the detail report. We can see that he fired 3 shots, got 2 direct hits, 2 penetrations, and damage of 230 hit points, of which 81 was at more than 300 meters. That was the shot on the FB3805. 2 hits received from the enemy. 1 was a penetration, 1 non-penetration. When you saw what it did to his wheels, made them go all wonky. And he also got hit by the Arty as well. 9 enemy vehicles spotted, 2 enemy vehicles damaged, 2 killed, and 10,447 hit points of spotting assist. In fact, he was doing most of the spotting for his team in that game. He didn't spot for the ones right up on top of the hill, but it was most of the ones that were actually in the south of the map and the west of the map. He was spotting them for his Arty teammates. On a free-to-play account, he earned 98,601 credits, and he took away 92,304 after repair and ammunition. He received 1,459 base XP, got 146 for this being a premium vehicle, and took away 1,605 experience points altogether. So that was the results for ossorioleon in the EBR. Here's the results for Javahne in the GW Tiger. And we can see that he managed to get a second class tanker in the GW Tiger. He got a Bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. He got 8. He got a Gauze medal for doing more damage than 8 times the hit points of his own vehicle. And he managed to get a Confederate as well, because he hit more of the enemy than anyone else on his team. At least 6 tanks subsequently taken out by others. In fact, he didn't get a single kill during the game, but he did hit the enemy for quite a lot of hit points. So that's why he got the Gauze. If we look at the team score, we can see that when it came to damage, he was actually at the top of the table. In fact, he did get the highest damage overall, 4,283 hit points, but no high caliber, so maybe it wasn't 20% of the enemy hit pool in total. But he did manage to get no kills, unfortunately, on this occasion. But when we look at base XP, we can see he's a little further down the table, 5th place on his own team with 840, but that's higher than anyone on the enemy team. And of course there we can see ossorioleon at the top with 1,459. So a little further down, but he did get 2 medals, the Gauze and the Confederate. He fired 15 rounds, all 15 rounds, so he didn't have anything left. 4 direct hits, no penetrations, but 15 splash. Damage of 4,283 hit points, all of it at more than 300 meters. He damaged 6 of the enemy, didn't get any kills, but he got 1,029 hit points of stun assist of 15 stuns. On a premium count, he earned 36,549 credits, and after ammunition resupply, took away 23,624 credits. He received 840 XP, got 2,520 from Personal Missions Payout, and took away 3,780 experience points altogether. So now we're going to look at the next battle, which is also Javahne again in the GW Tiger, and we'll see how he performs in that one. And here we are on the Mines map. Still on the same GW Tiger, Tier 9 German SPG with the 21cm gun.
Time to roll out.
Now, due to a fault in the replay files, I'm not sure actually, it was probably due to the changes in the software. Unfortunately, we lost the engine sound for about the first minute and a half of the games, so you won't be hearing the engine of this vehicle for a little while, but it does come back eventually. He's headed off for the corner. I wonder if he's going to stay. No, he's not going to stay on the land. He's actually going into the water area. Now, the position he's actually staying in the open here is actually fairly dangerous, because if an enemy comes over the middle island with the watchtower, then he might be hit because he might be spotted. In fact, he's now seeing an E75TS, which is basically a lurver in sheep's clothing. And, well, no, he's changed his mind. He's not going to go after that target. Found a standard B. Now he's found a Scorpion. He can definitely hit the Scorpion from here. In fact, that Scorpion's in a bit of an open position. Rounds out. Long flight time for the shell. Splashes in for 188. And we can now see the reload time is 35.44 seconds. Yes, the mods are working on this one. And we've got the engine. You can actually hear the engine at last. So it's only a fault for the first minute or so of a replay, and I think it was something that Wargaming did. They did solve in the very next client update. Well, the Scorpion's moved to a position behind the house, but if he's going to shoot, he's going to have to poke around the corner. And it looks like Javahne's ready, but he's fired a round in straight away. Splashes in for 217 this time. Now we can see a Lynx 6x6 is coming up onto the middle island, so he might want to get behind that rock. Yep, he's decided that's the smart move, because if the Lynx comes over the island at all, the moment he's spotted, the enemy Arty is going to be on him. There's only one enemy Arty, it's an M53, M55, but they are fairly accurate, so he doesn't really want to tempt fate. And the Scorpion G's on the move. So he's lining him up for a shot, trying to work out where he's going to go. Doesn't fire though. I thought for a moment he was going to fire, but he didn't. Instead, he's going to go for this Progetto. who's hovering around the same spot. Always a bad move to camp like that. Rounds out. Oh, well short of the target. In fact, that was almost on the edge of the reticule. Sometimes you see behaviour like that and you think, what is Wargaming up to? There's no way that the shell would have missed by that distance, especially when it was virtually fully dialed in. Okay, he's got to wait a little while, but he's now got an IS-3 clearly in the sight, but we lose sight of him because he's, well, our teammates can't see him. Is he going to shoot? No, he's going to wait. You only get a limited number of shells in the GW Tiger with the 21 centimeters, so you might as well wait until you've got a clean target. They just took out the AMX CDA 105. He's now firing the T28 prototype and he hits him. A direct hit. That's gotta hurt. The alpha on these shells is 1100. 53 millimeters of penetration and a burst radius of 12 meters. Now he's got two tanks together, the Scorpion and the Progetto, and if they're joined by the VK, then this could be a very tasty meal. So it'd be very nice if you could hit all three of them together. Can't see them yet, but there's one of them. That's the VK. Lands next to him for 370. Tracks him in place. We firmly have control of the hill at the moment. It's a bit of a mistake for the VK to even attempt to go up the hill. The good news is the Lynx 6x6 has now been wiped out. He tempted fate once too often, came up into the north area of the map and got taken out by the Type 61. Now the reason he's actually moving over this way is because he wants to get a shot, I think, from the behind the rock this time. But he's also got that T69, the IS-3, over on the east side of the map. He might have to move if he wants to get shots on those guys. The VK's moving up into the hill area. Oh, big hit right on his rear for 382. They're making an assault on the top of the hill. We do have two more tanks inside there with the TS5 and the Type 61. And it looks like the 4502B has met his fate. Cannon and Jagdpanzer killed him. Okay, we've got a 704 coming up the water side. He's backed up to that rock. Okay, he's loaded, lines up, rounds out, and direct hit. Again, that's gotta hurt. But only he could get a shot off. That Progetto was a one-shot splash kill. And oh, the Wizzy 111-14's gone. And there's that 704 again. He's making another attempt to come up the water. And so Javahne has to do something about him. Lines him up. Yes! Good hit. 444 hit points, 2 critical hits, but he still has to move closer to the rock because the further north that guy gets, the more likely he's going to spot Javahne if he closes the angle. But he can still shoot over the top of this rock by moving back just a little. Like another shot, because I reckon he can take that 704 out with his next round. Almost ready to go. 5 seconds. 4, 3, let it dial in. Almost there. Yes! That's his first kill. Just under 2k of damage so far. The scores are still even, so it's still anyone's game. But when you look at the number of hit points, you can see the enemy is almost 1,000 hit points down on us, which means that they must be suffering. Almost ready to go. E75 takes a direct hit. 436. Now the IS-3 is coming up the island, on the west island, the middle island, whichever way you want to call it. Again, he'll have to stay behind the rock, so he remains absolutely invisible to that guy. We've got the Wizzy 1201 FT, but from the sightlines he probably can't see the IS-3. Only the Canonian Jagdpanzer will see him, but only if he pops out from his current position, because he is actually just over the rise. In fact, the only targets he can see for sure, or might be able to see... Oh no, the E75 has moved to the other side of the rock. He didn't like getting hit by Arty, and the T28 prototype's done the same. So we know that two of the enemy are over that side. The IS-3 and the Standard B are on the west side as far as we're aware, because we can't verify the location of the Standard B. He was last seen some time ago. But if the IS-3 is where we think he is, that shell will have hurt him. It is a blind shot. He's only got 4 rounds left. But given there's only 5 minutes left in the game, it was worth a try. So that means there's 2 enemies that we haven't seen yet. The M53, M55, obviously because he's over in the corner. And the other one is the guard. Now he could do some quick counter battery just to see. But the E75 TS has gone over to the far side, the far east side. And, oh, well, the Conway saw to him. And that now means they've only got 4 tanks left. Again, it's the guard and the M53, M55 that we don't know where they are. The Canonian, oh, the Standard B's making his way up the water as quickly as he can. Oh, fantastic shot, kills him. Weak armor on the Standard B, took the shell right in the engine bay, and that's the end of his game. It also means Javahne's now got 2,822 hit points of damage. That's the recorded damage. He obviously has more because he did get some blind shots. There goes the IS-3, which means now he's only got the Arty somewhere in this area, because that's where they normally are. Unless he's a very clever Arty. There he is. Lines up the shot, rounds out, here we go. Lands right in front of him for 432 hit points. And the Type 61 makes absolutely certain of it. And that just leaves the guard, who's an AFK. And that is the end of the game. So that was a much better game from Javahne. Let's have a look at the end of battle stats on his GW Tiger. Well, he's got a first class tanker. It was a second class with the last game. This time it's a first class. He managed to get a Bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. He got 13. A Gauze medal, just like he did the last time. He did at least 8 times the hit points of his own vehicle in damage. But this time round, he did get the high caliber because he did do the most damage in the game overall. And if we look at the team score, we can see the big difference. Yes, look at that, 4,145 hit points of damage, puts him right at the top of the table. And the next high scorer was the M53, M55 in the enemy team, 2,766, followed by the T28 prototype with 2,720. When it came to kills though, it was the Type 61 and the TS5 did the best with 3 kills apiece, followed by Javahne and a few others with 2 kills apiece. And when it came to base XP, it was the Canadian Jagdpanzer who did the best with 1091, followed by the TS5 with 1053, followed by Javahne with 1036, and those are the only 3 players who managed to get over 1000 base experience points. He fired 13 rounds, so he had 2 left at the end of the game. 6 direct hits, 1 penetration, 10 splash, damage of 4,145 hit points, all of it at more than 300 meters. I think the one that penetrated was that shot on the standard B, because it hit the engine deck, made it absolutely certain that that guy was going to go out the game, because they've got fairly weak arm, the standard Bs. If you can hit them from above, they tend to get penned. 7 enemy vehicles were damaged, 2 were killed, and 389 hit points of damage assistance, plus 1,322 hit points of stun assist off 9 stuns. So, 37,785 credits, 80,000 from personal mission payout, and he took away 109,638 credits after ammunition resupply, and 1,036 XP times 4 for the first victory, 6,216 experience points altogether. He got a lot more damage in this game than he did actually was showing as recorded, because yes, he was getting blind hits. He was only showing 2,800 that he actually did, but he did a lot more than that, 4,145. Very accurate shooting, lots of damage on the enemy, and it made a big difference in the end of battle results. He didn't get a Confederate in this battle, but the reason is that he actually got 2 kills instead, and of course there was only 5 difference there, and he needed 6 in order to get at least the prospects of getting a Confederate. At least 6 tanks subsequently taken out by other teammates. In this case it was only 5 tanks taken out, because he took out 2 kills. Very nice kills as well, the 704 and the Prototypo, both tier 9s. But yes, a great improvement by Javahne in the GW Tiger, which of course is quite a good Arty actually. I'd say, I must admit, I do like this one, but I prefer to play it with the 17cm gun, because you get much more shots with it, which means that you can spread them more around and got much more chance of getting a Confederate out of it. But horses for courses, because some people like the 21cm simply because of the amount of actual damage, raw damage you can do to the enemy. So if you enjoyed those 3 replays, after I put this video all together, you can see a big improvement by Javahne in his GW play. Plus, of course, you got to see that EBR, who also happened to upload his replay, because he was rather proud of the amount of spotting damage he did, but he was the guy who was actually helping Javahne to get the good results in the Prokhorovka battle. So if you enjoyed that video, please give it a like, do subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.